Do you have plans September 12th through 14th?
The AMSN annual convention is the can't-miss event for medical surgical nurses.
Register now to join AMSN in Toronto, September 12th through 14th, 2024.
And prepare to connect with hundreds of peers for 3 days of learning, the latest insights, trends, and best practices in the specialty.
Visit amsn.org to secure your spot. On this episode of med-surg Moments,
Our favorite books. One of the books that I really like is Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
And
I read that one.
No, Jocko Willink.
Jocko Willink.
Love Jocko.
It was Wilson.
yes, and so I always go back to that every time I have trouble with
I
my
read that one down.
This is Eric.
Sydney.
Maritess.
Neil.
And Laura. Welcome to med-surg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
This podcast is an engaging look at the lives of and surrounding medical surgical nurses.
We're proud med-surg nurses, just like you, sharing our stories, insights, and experiences to support you in your nursing journey. Our topic today is our favorite books, but before we start, how is everyone doing?
I wanted to talk to Eric about his sabbatical from work because I am dealing with my husband who is on a personal sabbatical from work right now. I think he's really enjoying time off. He is doing projects around the house that he always wished he had time to do. And I think he's really enjoying it. Whereas if I didn't have work, I feel like I would go insane. So where are you on that spectrum, Eric? Are you going insane or are you just enjoying the time off?
I feel like I typically live on the insane side of the spectrum, so I'm just hovering there. You know, for me, it's a little different because I'm stuck because I can't move because of my broken ankle.
True.
And now I've started therapy, but it's still so difficult. Normally, I still think I would be going insane if I couldn't be working. And I feel like that's where I'm at right now. I have to kind of let go of the control freak in me and say, okay, this is the way life is. It took me about 3 months to finally get to this point because the day after surgery, I was like, oh, how am I going to fix that? How am I going to make that bed? It's driving me crazy. Or how am I going to get these dishes to the sink? Just little things. Now it's like I had to get back to work. And then I had to go on this whole self-realization and be like, well, is it because I focus so much on work because that's like becoming my identity? You know, I don't know. Well, people say, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You know, I've never been out of California. I've never taken a trip. I've never been on a plane. I was born in a small town on the border in San Diego, and that's as far south as I've gone. And then now I'm in the Bay Area, so the furthest north I've been is San Francisco. I don't venture out at all. Here's the thing is I don't long for it. And I think, oh, I don't go anywhere without a purpose.
Come to Florida area. And that's what I remember your response. I appreciate you sharing this because it's true. There's a lot out there. I have a friend who's never been in a plane. And she's like, you are never going to let me travel. I'm like, okay, I respect it, but you're missing out a lot, my friend.
I feel like we need to have a field trip for the podcast. Like, I am a big fan of the Oregon coast, so let's try to hook that up.
I'm coming to visit you, Eric. We're doing the whole Pacific Coast Highway, and then I'm abducting you, and we'll go to Canada before September.
I had a friend said, oh, I spent 3 weeks in Hawaii. It was beautiful. You should go. And I thought, well, I've been to the beach. A beach is a beach. It doesn't matter to me.
So I'll agree with you on this.
No.
So
is there a different sense of the beach?
No. So I'm in between. I'm kind of with Eric, but not fully. So I've been to Jamaica. And once you've been to Jamaica, it's the same as Trinidad. It's the same as every other island. Now, Hawaii, the thing that's so unique and different about Hawaii is like, it's an American state. It's windy. It's sunny. It's like the most perfect island I've ever been to. But for the most part, if you've been to Florida, you've been to all the islands down there, essentially. It's all the same difference, just a pinker or more orange sand and a bluer, more turquoise water. So I'm with you on that to a point. Like, I'm not going to spend my whole life hitting every island in the West Indies. Hawaii is way better. So I kind of agree with you. It's like not every beach is a beach. Pacific Beach and Atlantic beaches are a world of difference. Come to North Carolina, dude, seriously. We'll drop the top from the Bronco and go out to the coast, dude. You'll love it. We'll go hang gliding. You'll love it.
That's why you go to the Philippines, to go to the beach.
Eric, I think I have the opposite problem than you, where I get travel fatigue. Like, the travel here in Europe is so easy, but a lot of the cities, at least here in southern Spain, are very similar. They have a lot of the same architecture, a lot of the same food on the menus. So when someone comes to visit and I'm like, oh, I gotta take them here again. But they haven't seen it, and it is beautiful, but like, it's just another, one of my friends is coming to visit in May, and she's flying into Barcelona and then working her way down to where I'm at. And she's asking me what cities to go to. She's asking about some of the major ones, and I'm like, yeah, just another southern city. I feel so pretentious saying that. No, tell them you've been there. You've been there, but they need to see it for themselves. They need to see it for themselves.
Europe is a very travelable country. Like, where we look at states in the USA, like I went to University of London at Russell Square for a summer abroad. It's so easy to country hop. It's the distance of most states. So it's like, it's a weird paradigm. And like I said, you sound pretentious. Someone's like, oh, I just jumped over to this country like just the other day. It's like, that's a weekend trip to Amsterdam. It's a weekend trip to France.
Right. I just had that Amsterdam trip with my boyfriend, and we were actually visiting my brother, who just moved to the Netherlands in February. And all my friends are like, are you guys okay? Like, you and your brother, what are your parents thinking? That you both are in Europe now. But I'm traveling back to the States actually this week for a wedding, and I'm excited for Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and all of my favorite East Coast things. Marshall's with my mom. It's going to be amazing.
That was so funny. When we were in Europe, you were talking about the food, how sometimes you get to some of these places and it's all the same. We started looking for spaghetti bolognese because that was something that we recognized, and everybody had spaghetti bolognese when we were there.
I think I paid €4 for a Dr. Pepper the other day. I was like, you know what? I haven't had a Dr. Pepper in so long. I need it.
And they don't know what ice water is in Europe. They thought we were insane.
No ice. Yeah, no ice.
No ice?
Yeah, no ice.
No.
Like, they don't do ice. Even
if you want water, they're going to give you a glass bottle of water, and you have to ask for a glass of ice. And they look at you like you're crazy.
Really? Yeah. If there was one place I could go, I've thought about going to Japan. That's the only place I've ever thought about visiting. I've never tasted seafood, so I think I would hate to go to some.
You're like, when you go to Uber Eats some sushi.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, nobody there.
Go through every place on Uber Eats. That's what you should be doing.
Like fish tacos, shrimp tacos. Like, you know what they do? I like
ask for the shrimp on the side, and then I give it away to who's at the table.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I know, it's pretty sheltered.
The interrogation of Eric episode.
I want to share that I had a big crab, like super huge crab. I think it's like almost 4 pounds. And I ate it by myself.
Oh, girl. Crab cakes in Maryland. Dude, I'm telling you, I'll do a whole East Coast tour with you.
I think why I really like to travel, regardless if you go to a place over and over, it's because it's the memories with the people you're with. I think it was Ernest Hemingway who said, never travel to anyone that you do not love because you will never enjoy it. So when you travel, choose a good travel partner that you really love. There are different sunsets. Trust me, I don't know. Just for me, it's the same.
Yeah, Hawaiian sunset's beautiful.
But it's so different. Every time I look at it, I still am so mesmerized. So just sharing. Why don't we move on to our topic, our favorite books? Who wants to start?
So not to get us started on a sad note, but one of my favorite nursing books is by an author named Atul Gawande, who is a surgeon who writes a lot of books. And the book that he wrote that spoke to me the most is called Being Mortal. And it's about end of life. It's an amazing book. I recommend reading it in chunks. Have Kleenex handy because the stories are very, very, very touching. And they're very, very, very sad. But they're also kind of beautiful. He walks you through seeing death from a different angle. You look at it in terms of quality of life versus quantity of life, because he talks about how there's a lot of times that we prolong lives just because we have the ability to, but maybe not giving people the quality of life that they deserve. So it's a tough read, but it's beautiful, And especially if you're new and you're not sure about how to have those kind of conversations with your patients or even with your family members, that's a book that I would recommend.
We had at my old hospital, I was one that recommended monthly reading books. I never got a chance to read it. I saw excerpts from it. It's interesting, where nurses were so used to saving lives. And coming from a mortuary family, I said my mom's side of the family, we had a funeral parlor. To me, death was very natural. And having that talk was very natural. But I'm always amazed at how some nurses aren't comfortable having the death talk. And I think with my dad living with Parkinson's for the last 15 years in the 5, where he really lost his ability to speak and do for himself, there's that realization between existing, living, and being alive. And there's fine lines with that. And
and it's different for everybody.
Yeah. And you got to look in the mirror of what do you want for the end. It's not easy talk to have with yourself, let alone your loved ones.
Laura, I'm going to have to put that on my reading list because I do have an interest in end of life and hospice care. So I'm going to have to put that on my reading list.
It's a must read. If you have that passion, it's a must read. Yeah. Another one is called When Breath Becomes Air. And that is by Paul Kalanithi. It's a personal account about end of life. Okay, that's a sad topic out of the way. Who has a happy book?
I read a lot of happy books. Maybe that's the reason why I love reading books. One of the books that is actually non-nursing, The Little Prince. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, I'll tell you, because it's French. Antoine Saint-Exupéry. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I actually had this book when I was a young girl. I gave the book to my kids too. It's just telling us life is simple. You have to keep everything simple. Whenever I'm lost, complicated things are happening, I go back to that book. It's a very short book. And it brings me back to the reason why things need to be simple, not complicated. You need to be always intentional with what you're doing. It goes back to the mindfulness practice, being present in the moment, understanding your emotions, understanding how you feel. When you say something, you need to mean it and also be with the person that you are with at the moment. I read a lot of leadership books. When I became a leader, John Maxwell's books are always amazing, always great, but a lot of books from nursing theorists as well.
Maritess, have you read If Disney Ran Your Hospital?
Yes, I read Bob Iger's autobiography too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
That's a good one as well. But one of the books that I really like is Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
And
I read that one.
No. Jocko will.
Jocko will.
Love Jocko.
Wilson. Yes. And so I always go back to that every time I have trouble with.
I read that one down.
Yep.
I just lent that to one of my coworkers to read.
Good book. All his books are great.
He has a podcast as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's super cool.
It gives you life experiences. It's so visual too. So if I want to be in the moment, okay, let me go back to that page and I actually write it.
Yeah. When he says step back.
Yep.
That stuff.
Yep. I like the fact where as a leader, you have to be with your team. You can't just say, do this, do that. You have to be in the trenches with them and you have to be involved with the planning because you need to guide them.
And taking ownership when mistakes are made. I was reading that book when one of the first times I was precepting and my preceptee made a med error and I went to my supervisor and we talked about it and he was like, well, it wasn't your fault. I'm like, well, it is because he's my preceptee and maybe I could have communicated better, not to pass meds without me or, maybe trying to find the solutions so it doesn't happen again, but taking ownership for it when it's your team.
I think I've only got Entertainment Weekly and Vogue on my table.
All right.
You guys are inspiring me.
We need to put together a care package for Eric.
With a plane ticket.
Man. Yes, for Toronto. Dun, dun, dun.
You can read on the plane.
Yeah. So I think of two books. One was a recent read, sadly enough for school, but I enjoyed it. It's called An American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal, How Healthcare Became Big Business and How You Could Take It Back. So it was last summer. So nursing school, no matter what degree level, it's traumatizing. You try to shove it out after you get it done. But it really breaks down how insurance came to exist and be. Like anything, it starts with a good intention that kind of gets taken apart. The other book, I might get weepy. My grandfather, a lifetime ago, and I made the mistake, there's the rule, don't ever let out the book you really like because you'll never get it back. And there is a great Italian author, philosopher, public speaker, and I might butcher it's Leo Bascaglia. He has 2 phenomenal books that have impacted my life. And one of them is just called simply Love. And the other one's Personhood. I like using the word, I stole the personhood thing from him because it's like, I like your personhood. Your personhood is who you are, and it takes your grandparents, your parents, your neighborhood, your community. But I love the one little story in there, and it's almost pseudo-medically related. And I think it's from Personhood. Leo talks about growing up, and he's Italian. Both parents came from Italy. Leo talks about every ethnic group has their little superstitions and stuff. Of course, Italians, they love garlic. And so for the longest time, he has like a minced garlic clove in a little satchel around his neck, protect him from health and stuff like that. And so he's like, I think I realized all those years later, it wasn't actually healthy. It kept people away from me because I smelled like garlic all the time. So I stayed healthy, it wasn't like actually medicinal. It was more kept people away from him. But it really talks about this love and life and personhood and embracing who you are and your experiences. I have a small break from school, till 13th, and I try to just read through it and skim back through it because they're just great reads and rereads. But those are 2 great books that have impacted, and I gift them. If I really like you as a person, do love you as a person, I'll be like, hey, you need to read this. I even recommended it to some kids when I was teaching high school for New York Minute.
You brought up a point. I'm that person. When I give a gift, it's a book. My coworkers would tell me, Tess, another book. I haven't read the other one yet. But it's an inspiration, I think. When you give out a book, it's like giving you a message.
Yeah, it's a piece of yourself. Something that impacted you, you're passing it on.
I don't have real grandkids yet. I have adopted grandkids, but every Christmas and every birthday, I am the one that gives books. They will have a library before they can read, thanks to me. I love giving kids books. Sandra Boynton is one of my favorite. There's a book called But Not the Hippopotamus that I have happy memories reading to my own children. So every time I'm invited to a baby shower, they're getting that book. It's called But Not the Hippopotamus. It just makes me smile.
I have a general question since we're talking about books. Have you ever had a favorite nursing book back when you were studying nursing? The reason why I share that is because when I travel, I always have a pathophysiology book with me or a neurology book. Yes, weird.
I did not. I did not have a pathophysiology book with me.
Yeah, I think in nursing school, I was so busy reading the textbooks. I didn't read anything else. I was so overread.
Yes.
We have those pocket neurology books,
oh, yeah,
physiology books. I have all the versions of them.
Now we know why Maritess is working on her 2nd doctorate.
Wait,
that is never going to happen. No way. Sure.
PhD after her 14th.
You should even get inspired to go get a CNS degree because I was seriously thinking.
My mom's like, if you go to school one more time, I'm going to beat you. And she will, even though she's 76.
It's the thing about being lifelong learners. I think as nurses, we know that we have to continuously stay up to date on what's going on in the world of health, whether that's nursing or the pandemic or personal accounts. I know there's a lot of books out there that nurses write. There's one called The Shift, which is like 12 hours, one nurse. I spent a lot of time perusing those medical sections at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, it's fun to kind of look at those sometimes and just kind of wonder what I would read if I could read something in in school.
Well, my friend actually just published a book. I'm waiting for my copy.
I don't think you said you're waiting out and buy it.
Well, I bought it. I'm waiting from Amazon. But yeah, to your point, there's a lot of nurses now writing books to inspire others. I think we should all, at some point in our life, have one book about ourselves and motivate others. I think we should as nurses because we have stories to tell.
Are you thinking the AMSN podcast, the book?
Ooh, why not?
Behind the scenes of the med-surg moment.
But see, books aren't as popular anymore because everyone's doing some kind of podcast or video documentary or stuff like that. And that's what I do like about books. So I like being able to physically carry it on the airplane with me. I'm the one that has folded pages. Sometimes there's notes on it. I can never get it from the Kindles, even Google Books. I did audiobooks to cheat once when I was doing my first master's.
It's not cheating. Well, I'm just going to put that out there, Neil. It's not cheating. It's not for everybody. I know what you're saying. Hold a good book. I love old books and love leather-bound books in my hand, but I love an audiobook.
My first master's is in language and literacy education, elementary education. And so we had to read like 20 books and do a summary of each. And then we had to create a curriculum for them for analysis of miscues and semantic cues and stuff like that. Yeah, fun stuff. That's why this master's in nurse education is kind of like borderline getting annoying. I just finished my rubric class and tested writing class. So I was like, oh. So I was listening to them. It's nice because if you have somebody that has a good voice, it's really cool, but it definitely is a lot more fun to read. Like I said, and you said magic, you said a leather-bound book. Ooh.
I chuckle. You know why? Because you know how you have the app for read to text book? Like, I don't know if you've heard or done that. I always do that. I can't read. Like, it's a robotic, the chapter of this book is.
I can't get into that.
Yeah, but I can listen to podcasts, but I just can't do audiobooks. It's just too long of a format.
I feel the same way. I love podcasts, but an audiobook, it just doesn't hold my attention. I love to read. I just don't have a whole bunch of nursing books in my library.
One of my clinical instructors, she wrote a book. She was in the Rhode Island National Guard. And so she wrote a book about her time when she was in Mosul, Iraq, about her experience as a public health nurse. Serving sailors over there. It's called The Nightingale of Mosul. And it's pretty short. It's a really easy read. But she was one of my clinical instructors in school. Got my signed copy. I felt very important.
Pretty cool.
Actually, Maritess, it's interesting you mentioned those little Merkel books. I'm a third generation nurse. My dad was a nurse. His mom was a nurse. I acquired all these different things of his. I do hate that I don't have his pin or his lamp, but we buried him with his nursing pin.
I thought you were going to say you buried him with his lamp.
No, I think his lamp broke when we were kids, but I do have an actual set. So like most of us are young enough here to have had like the giant 600-page textbook, or you got like 2 of them, you lug around. It's literally about an 8-book series for his nursing school. Nursing for the diabetic, nursing for the congestive heart failure.
Wow.
Psychological nursing, critically ill patient care.
That's so cool.
I think it's nice to have a library like that. That's really awesome. Well, believe it or not, we're out of time. So many great books. To our listeners, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of med-surg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
In the meantime, we encourage you to subscribe to med-surg Moments wherever you listen to podcasts.
To reach us, use hashtag med-surg Moments on your social posts.
Or send us an email at amsnpod@amsn.org. That's amsnpod@amsn.org.
We're all AMSN members, and if you love med-surg Moments, we invite you to become a member of AMSN. You can learn more at www.amsn.org.
Finally, the content within the med-surg Moments podcast represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the co-hosts and may not necessarily reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Academy of Medical Surgical Nurses.
Until next time, this is Neil,
Laura, Sydney,
Maritess,
and Eric. And always remember, med-surg Moments is a moment in our lives and a moment in our med-surg careers that make a huge difference.